There we go. All right, so I have kind of two different things kind of planned today. Looks like there are 6 of us here. We'll see how many more get to pop in. If not, they can watch the recording. But before we get into Wilson, so obviously today is April Fool's, it's April 1st, and I really wanted to fool you guys with something, but I'm really horrible with stuff like that. Can't keep a straight face. Have never been a good liar, you know, for the benefit of my mom, totally benefited from that when I was growing up. But I can remember like a couple of April Fool's jokes that were played on me, but I wanted to hear if you guys have ever had like a really good April Fool's joke played on you, or if you have played a really good April Fool's joke on anyone.
No, I know I have, but there's so many, I can't name them.
I knew you were going to have some, Lois. I knew it. Give us one, Lois.
I can't, honestly, I can't remember any of them. I do stuff like that all the time. I do it when it's not April Fool's, so.
Yeah. My mom is a good, like, she likes to trick people all the time. She just came to visit last week from Pennsylvania to out here in Arizona, and was getting my boys constantly just with little pranks here and there. But I'm not a big prankster. But all right, sounds like the rest of you guys aren't either. All right, so the rule or expectancy that I kind of wanted, let me share, actually, I'll share my screen and then I'll give you guys the link as well. So recently, since we brought over kind of that early literacy material, I've been looking through it like just as kind of like a way to like supplement Wilson in that, you know, if I wanted to send anything home with students, or if I wanted to like after the word cards, like that little activity. And inside there's the doc that I'm showing you guys right now. Inside the early literacy notebook, there is that student notebook, and it's not in the same order that Wilson goes. It's very similar, but anyways, she dedicates like a whole couple of pages to when you hear k, what do you use? Do you use K? Do you use C? Do you use CK? And I know Wilson definitely covers, you know, like when it's appropriate to use CK, when there's one vowel, closed syllable immediately following that. If it ends with the k, you're going to use CK. But she does a really great job of one, reinforcing that, but then she talks about, you know, the CK in the beginning. And I don't know, you guys may have heard like the cat and kite rule. You've seen those visuals. And so I was like, you know what, because I saw that even my students that have been with me for a while and are, you know, in, you know, step 6 of Wilson and beyond, sometimes I still see them hesitate when they come across that, what to use, if they should use CK or CK. So I've taken the time to go through this and just reinforce or reiterate it to them. And it has helped, because I feel like maybe I didn't do a well enough job with that in the beginning. With new kids, I feel like, you know, at 1.3, when you're introducing CK, or going over it, it would also be a great time to reinforce that. So, and you guys can add in if you have any tips or tricks to teaching this, but I linked a couple of things there through that early literacy material. But obviously, if you hear k at the beginning, it's either C or K, never CK. CK is always at the end. A little jingle that I like for for the one at the beginning is K gets I and E and C gets the other three. And so, or they obviously have to be touching it as well. I point that out. Or there's a lot of great visuals with like a cat, like the letter C, and it has the A, the K gets I and E, the A, O, and U inside the cat, and then the kite. They have the I and the E inside the kite. You guys could Google that. And then of course at the end, when you hear that sound, you're only going to work with K or with CK. C is not going to be there. And that of course, if there's one vowel and immediately follows that one vowel ending with a K, you're going to use CK. Anything else, you're going to rely on that K. So just a little thing that, again, I found that maybe I was missing early on in my instruction, and definitely went back and found it very worth the time to review it with even my older kids. And then now if I were to get any new kids, I would definitely just reinforce that from the beginning. You guys have any tips or tricks with that?
I have one. I use WordWall. Actually, WordWall has a really good activity in teaching that, the difference between when you use CK and especially when you get into the multi-syllable. So it goes over both. So when you use when you have one syllable words, the CK at the end, and then, yeah, so it's really good. I'll attach the link.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have any tips or tricks on that? All right, cool. All right, so the second thing that I really wanted to focus on and give you guys the time to do was the lesson plan template within Wilson. Most of you have been here for a good while, but Bree and I worked really hard last summer to revamp the Wilson training. We're continually thinking about how we want to make it better and better. But I feel like something that I really dropped the ball on in that initial training is just really going through the lesson plan template and why should we use it? How do we use it? And so today I wanted to, as a group, go through this template and talk about, like the pros of using it, what to look for between, an introductory lesson, an accuracy lesson, and a fluency lesson. And then also what you'll need when preparing for it. So no judgment whatsoever, again, because I feel like it's total lack on my end of including that in the training. But have any of you guys been able to have the opportunity to benefit from using the lesson plan template when you're doing your Wilson lessons?
Absolutely.
Maybe. Okay, cool.
Yes, it's very helpful. I use it all the time. The fillable one that you can fill out.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah, I literally use it as a script. I write my script before the lesson.
Perfect. All right, cool. Yeah. So I created a folder in Box that I linked there that and it's called like completed Wilson lessons to reference. So this is my binder as I was going through my practicum that we had to have. So these are my Wilson lessons that are all written up and scribbled over, but they're completed. So I've talked to several of you about wanting to transfer these over. I would just scan them, but again, like I have notes all over them and I just would not feel okay. It's just, they're pretty, I use them, they're used. But I would love to transfer these over into that folder. And so then at least you guys would have something to reference for each sub-step. So with that being said, what if you haven't used it, what do you think some of the pros could be to taking the time to fill out the template? And if you have used it, what have been some of those pros to using it?
I would say, Kayla, that I think it's a fabulous idea to have those lesson plan templates or the filled out ones to reference. But honestly, my experience is that my students have all been so different that I rewrite the lesson for every student for every sub-step, because I've got one little one who is, as you know, refusing certain parts of the lesson. And so I'm all over the place in terms of where I am, but she's still in 1.2. And she will be until she is either confident enough or mature enough to stop with the refusals. And I'm doing everything I can to fill in those gaps with things like games and videos and things that she'll benefit from to build her confidence. But I wouldn't be able to use one of those filled out templates for her because she has a whole enigmatic set of needs. So I'm just saying, if someone hasn't used them, I can imagine that it would be a treasure trove of information. But in my case, my students have all been so different that I fill out a new one for each sub-step for each student.
Yeah, so I'm so happy you brought that up, Lois, because that definitely, if I'm just being honest, has been my hesitation to dedicating the time to doing that, because I don't want to take away from the individualized part of this program. And if you have a lesson that's already completed for you, I want it to be a reference, not something that the instructors just use with every single student. Like, you know, absolutely, I want it to be used as a guide, like I said, as a reference, but we still need to make sure that we're individualizing it. And what that means is exactly what Lois explained. You know, each student that we get, oddly enough, although most of them have pretty similar struggles, the details within those struggles look different, right? Like there's these characteristics amongst individuals that are struggling with reading or spelling that are very common, but then when you really start to work with them, you really start to notice the little differences in what their struggles are. And so that's why a lot of my lessons are written up, because I use them for my practicum. And then I was a teacher, and everyone knows classroom teachers struggle with just having enough time in the day to do everything, right? Especially if you're a special education teacher and you have 5 groups a day and you need to prep for all 5 of those groups. So I would use these lessons and I would reuse them. But when I reuse them, I noticed that my kids had different trouble spots or different needs. So I would write notes off to the side and make sure you do this word with this kid and make sure you target, you know, this sound with this group. And so my plans got very messy because I was using them. So just that in itself really shows the pros of it, because you can reuse them and you'll get to know them. You'll get to know your plan. You'll get to know, but also it may not be the thing that you use every single time. You may have to print it out and alter it or retype it for your own needs to fit whatever individual student that you are that you're working with. But at the end of the day, like, it could be so beneficial, I believe, if you had something like that to go off of. And I think that that's probably why Wilson doesn't provide them for that reason. They provided like one for 1.3, but no other ones after that. And I feel like that's probably why. So that's truly the pros and the cons of having those templates available. With that being said, I get that what we're doing is we're taking, you know, this very intensive program. We're doing, you know, the best that we can to train you guys in this intensive program. But how the amount that we see the students and things like that is not, truly up to par to what the expectation of Wilson is. So I definitely plan to upload those lessons, and would love to build a library of lessons with you guys. And so you'll see that's why you have access. I put that link in there, the completed lesson plans folder. So if you finish a lesson plan, and you're like, this is, a well-written lesson plan, someone could really benefit from it, upload it. And then, I would love to create a library for all of us just to pull from so that we can, work together, even though it's hard because we're all in different places at different times. What do you guys think would be the differences that you would see between an introductory lesson, an accuracy lesson, and a fluency lesson? Like just in the plan itself, like what would be some things that you would notice would change from one lesson to the next? Other than the little check box up at the top that says intro, accuracy, fluency.
Well, I would think that the accuracy component of it would include elements of the lesson that the student is struggling with.
Yeah, great, good. So you'll definitely have some trouble spots targeted, right? That you really want to make sure that you focus and continue to give some practice on. Yeah. And in an intro lesson, we're just introducing that skill, right? So in the manual, you'll see like introductory lesson. And this is where they're adding those rules to the student notebook and things like that. And so in an introductory lesson, you would see that where it says like add to notebook. You're going to have something there because they have to add it. It's the first time you're introducing it to them. So you would notice that those add to notebook parts would be filled out because they have to add certain things to their rules notebooks during that time. Also, if you're just introducing the skill to them, what type of words do you think you're going to use, thinking of Wilson?
I would think probably just the easier level, like list words, like maybe the AB level words, or just some of the ones that, because I know that it kind of goes gradually depending on what, what sub-step they're on, but there's some that have like mixed combinations where they add like the elements or like the prefixes and the, so you have to figure out, okay, well, certain lessons, certain sub-steps are more complex, especially once you get into the 3.1, where they really introduce all of the, they introduce a lot, especially with the syllable rules and all of that. So probably just easier list of words, combination of words to start, maybe.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. So those, the introductory lessons, you're going to see, like Danielle just stated, the easier vocab words, the more common words that the kids have come across, right? They probably won't have suffixes on them. And this is for the skill that's introduced, right? Now, as you progress through that sub-step and you go through accuracy, now maybe you're seeing words that you've now have attached, suffixes to them, and they're practicing reading the base word with the suffix once you get into those applicable sub-steps. And then those fluency lessons, that's where you're going to see a lot more of the nonsense words, right? Reinforced there, because that's truly telling us if a child has learned and really internalized the phonetic skill that we've taught them, is when they can fluently read those nonsense words, because there's no guessing at a nonsense word. There's no, reverting back and pulling that word from your memory. You have to know the phonetic skill to be able to correctly read that word. And so that would be a major difference. And I'm talking about the words that, if we're at 2.3, which is closed exception. Oh, that's a horrible example because they don't have nonsense words for that one. But any of the previous sub-steps that you're reviewing, you're going to pull in as many nonsense words as you can. But the current sub-step that you're working on, that's a great way to see those lessons progress, that the words that you're targeting are more complicated or higher vocabulary, there's suffixes on the end, there's nonsense words. Yes, 100%. Okay, so what I would love to do today is I would love to complete a lesson with you guys, but I don't want it to be like just a lesson that like just for kicks and giggles. Like I would love for it to be an upcoming lesson that you have to plan for. I would love for you guys I put you in breakout rooms and work together, but can you guys tell me off the top of your head, like what sub-step you would have coming up that you are working on, or put it in the chat, because I'm not going to be able to hold all those numbers in my working memory. I already know it now. So if you can just put it in the working chat or in the chat, then we can try to pair you guys up. Oh, thanks, Danielle. Hi, Sherry. Even see you. Oops, I didn't want to.
I have 2 kiddos. That's why I put 2 numbers that are doing
Okay.
this. Yeah.
All right, it looks like we're kind of all over the place. Hold on, let me link this right here really quickly.
I'm starting with a new kid, and Bree is still figuring out where I'm going to start with him. So one of the lower ones.
Yeah, I think we're going to do 1.3 with him, Jody.
That would be good.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I put the link in the chat to the rule for this. When do you CK?
Oh, I thought I copied the wrong one. I'm such an idiot. Oh, Sherry, okay. I hope you feel better. Thanks for still coming. I copied the wrong link. Hold on, let me copy this one. And put it there. All right. So while I think about how to do that, what you're going to need, obviously, is the template. So I've linked it right here. Right here is the fillable template. So if you click on that link, it'll open it as a PDF and you can fill it out if that's how you work and that's how you learn. If not, you can print it out. Did I email you guys that, or did I just think about doing it? Okay, so I do that a lot. I think about doing things and then it doesn't happen sometimes. So, or you could have printed it if that's how you work best. Everyone is different. And what you'll need. So these are the 3 main things that I always have available to me when I'm sitting down to write a lesson. I obviously have the instructor manual, because that's going to tell you exactly how to run the lesson. I always have the dictation book, because that's where you're going to plan, a good portion of the words that you do for the dictation part of it. And then I always have the student reader for that sub-step, because you're going to need to know the passages that the decodable passages, the sentences that they're going to read. And so those are like the 3 things that I always have with me when I'm creating a lesson for a student. So Jody, the good news is 1.3, Wilson did a sample lesson for us, and I already uploaded it into this completed lessons folder. So you'll see where it says step 1. If you click there, that's loaded in there. Jody came to observe me teach a virtual student one day who didn't show up, but I did upload the lesson that I had prepared for that session. It was in step 3, so I already put that one in there for anyone to reference. So it looks like Danielle's at 1.5, 4.2, 2.4. You guys are all over the map. 1.2. Do you guys want to take some time to create a lesson right now on your own and ask questions as you go, or do you want to create one like all together with me?
I would prefer all together with you, Kayla,
Okay.
because that helps me think of things I might have missed.
Okay. All right. Got it. Okay. So let's go to, let me see. I don't know. You guys want to do 1.5? Yeah. 2.4. All right, let's start at 1.5. We'll see how much we can get through this. All right, so I'll open up my old lesson just so if we want to cheat at all, we can. But so make sure you have your template opened up. We're going to go through this together. All right, so, oh my goodness, this brings back. Guys, my Wilson person was the meanest person I've ever met in my whole life. I don't know how many times I've shared that with you guys, but I was scared to death of her. But I will tell you that I learned more from her than I did any of like my entire college career. Okay. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna grab my manual. You guys can open it up in Box if you want to. Give me just a second to grab everything and get set up. All right, so 1.5 is on page 138 of the manual. So I'm going to open up a PDF and I'll share the screen with you guys, but you can open up your own if you want and type as we go, or I'll make sure to upload this when we're done today. What? Is that doing it for all of you guys? I hope not. Oh, I'll have to fix that link. Is everyone in Box okay? Are you guys all able to access Box? Yeah? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. Because I lost the Box versus Google Doc fight. So we will continue to have things in Box, which is okay. All right, so obviously you can put your, I'm gonna have to download this, open a PDF. Your student's name up there if you wanted to. I will be honest with you, the lesson number, I don't put a ton, but I always put the sub-step and the date because our lessons aren't always done, like one lesson per session, so it makes it a little difficult. All right, it's downloading now. While that downloads, I did grab a couple of things too that I wanted to share with you guys that I feel like make my sessions in person, sorry guys, this is for in person, a little more enjoyable for the kiddos. So I bought these like Jenga, these knockoff Jenga boards from like the Dollar Tree. They're completely blank. And so then I went and like you can see, like I have step 1 and I have I put step 1 words on the bottom of the Jenga pieces. Like step 5, those are still blank, but I have a bag for every single step. And so that's like kind of a fun way to play. So we build it just as a Jenga, just as you do a regular Jenga game, and then they pull the piece out, they have to read the word, and then you just play Jenga, but it's also reinforcing them reading the words. And of course you can weave questions into it as they read it. So like, oh my gosh, I just saw one of the blocks says kill on it. I don't know if that's an appropriate word to have on a block, but whatever, it says kill. So like you could ask, you know, like why do we double the L? You know, what's the rule for the bonus letter? So you can weave concepts in there as they're pulling and reading the words. Another thing, and I'll make sure to upload this, is I bought the template for Uno. And I have words in there that I play with the kids. And I have a kid that, Lightning Luke, you guys have all heard of him, severely ADHD. Like, we were on step 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 for 9 months. Severely dyslexic, ADHD, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, you name it, the poor kid is working through it. But this is a game, like, lifesaver since I have figured this out. One, I can't beat the kid and I'm very competitive. So I want to keep playing it because I'm determined to like beat him, but he's so good at it, his strategies. But also he's playing a game and I'm having him read the words. And so right now, like, we're on 2.3. So I have mixed in here closed exceptions and just word closed syllables. And so, like, if he were to pull a word like class, is that closed or closed exception? How do you know? Or child, closed exception. How do you know? What's at the beginning of child? Diagraph. So again, I'm weaving in those concepts as we're playing the game. And it makes it a little more fun because Wilson can get a little dry sometimes.
Where did you get those cards?
Teachers pay teachers. Yeah, teachers pay
okay.
teachers. So I just printed them on regular paper. You can see through them. So we have rules where we have to cover the colors because if not, he cheats all the time. And I do too, because you can't avoid it. So like things like that, you would probably want to put on cardstock, but I mean, regardless, it doesn't matter. It's a game and they're going to enjoy it, but it's, yeah. And they have ones that are fillable ones, so you can put in whatever words you wanted. So if there was a kid that struggled with like short E versus short I would just create a ton of them with different words with short E and short I and play with that. Or they have them for each sub-step within Wilson, and it has been a gold mine.
Wow,
So
that's good to know. That's really good.
yeah, super fun.
Mhm.
All right, so here we go. Does everyone have their manual to 1.5, so page 138? Okay, so let's say that this is an introductory lesson. So I would, click that up there. This is sub-step 1.5. So I'll put that there. Trouble spots. So this is where you would put any trouble spots that this particular student is having. Maybe it's the BD reversal, TH versus F, whatever trouble spot it may be that the student is having. So concepts to weave, this is any previously taught phonetic skill or expectation that you've already taught them that you want to make sure that you weave in. So maybe it's, one that you really haven't talked about for a while and you want to make sure you, review it, go over it again. Maybe it's one that you've moved beyond, but the student could definitely benefit from additional practice with. So that's what that means, concepts to weave. So a good thing to do for that is inside of our Wilson folder, we have a Wilson scope and sequence. It's like a rainbowish color. I'm not going to pull it up because it's going to take forever. But it has like the sub-step and then the phonetic skill that you're teaching, the expectation during that sub-step. So if you pull that up, you can look there if you needed a visual. But for now, I will leave those blank. Okay.
Kayla, really quick. And I don't know, I mean, usually what I've been doing with the concepts to weave is I'll put down anything that's being introduced in the lesson. So
Okay.
what the concept is of what they're teaching. So for like this one, they're introducing am and an as welded sounds.
Sure.
So I would put down, I would put that they're still working with like the short vowel, like words with 3 sounds with short vowels with digraphs and the new skill, which is
Perfect.
we're going to be learning. Is that
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely put
Just
that
making
up there
sure.
as well,
Okay.
just to remind yourself as to what the goal is of the lesson.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. And listen, if something works for you that I don't talk about or go over, share it, just like Danielle did right now, because it's one, beneficial. We are all learning from one another. And also, like, I am not the end all be all of Wilson. So just, you know, take what you want from it. But yeah, share some different things because we can all learn from each other if you guys do things a little differently. So this says right here, so word type to chart. So since this is an introductory lesson, we're definitely going to be charting real words, not nonsense words. And so we would click real there. All right, so here's our quick drill. So for our vowels, so you're obviously always going to have all of the vowels, no matter what. You're always going to do the vowels. They're going to go through them. Once you get into the higher substeps where you have introduced, you know, vowel consonant E, then, you know, you can go through, you're then doing both of them. You're doing the short and the long sound. It can get very lengthy here. So if you get to a point where you're able to just choose to do some short, some long, I would recommend that. I think Wilson always wants you to do all of them, but anywho. So consonants. So here would be where you could pull in some consonants that they, some consonant sounds that maybe they're struggling with. I'm just thinking of Luke. Like this is where you can pull from previous lessons if this student really hasn't shown any trouble spots yet, but you just want to pick like 4 or 5. You don't have to go like, you know, outrageous. And then welded here, so they would do, you're going to do all because you've already taught it. And then obviously you're going to do am and an because you're introducing that today. So I could put bonus letters up here. That's typically something that would be welded in or weaved in. All right, so here, so add to notebook. Actually up here, so you're, because we're at 1.5, it literally says like drill all previously taught vowel sounds, be selective with previously taught consonants and welded sounds. Drill these by having the student say letter sound using keywords as needed. Have the student make the sound While making the sound, have the student block his or her nose. So the kids really get a kick out of this and they love doing it. You have them say then you have them plug their nose and try to do it, and they'll realize they can't do it. And so then you talk about how and n are nasal sounds. And so when that happens, due to that nasal part of the sounds, that it distorts or changes the vowel sound. So that's why we're going to glue am together, because if we were to tap it out, it would sound like but we know that that says am. So then you'll go through that little paragraph right there. And then it says at student notebook entry. You guys all see where it says that in the, I'm going to put, and just as a note to myself that to make sure to look there. So what I typically do, it says sound section in the student notebook. So I would go to the student notebook and I would see exactly what page that is on. I have the answer key right here. Let me pull it up. And I would note exactly what page that's on, but what you're having them do is you're having them add the keyword pictures for am and an, and then you're going to review how to mark those welded sounds with a box at the bottom. So here is the answer key, which is in our folder as well, inside of box, but here you can see like it talks about the sounds right here. Welded sounds are on page, let me move you guys up here. Welded sounds are on page 5. So I just always check it, and yeah, so there's 5. So they're gonna add that picture there, and they're gonna add that picture there, and then they're gonna box in these glued sounds right here. Just a little side note really quickly, I have had students that really struggle with not necessarily these sounds, but especially when you get into these glued sounds. So what I have done is I've printed these and I've cut the picture out of it, and on like an index card, or like I have these like just little, they kind of look like index cards. So I just write like ANG on one side, and then I paste the picture on the other side, or it's something you can do with the kid if you have time in session. And then I send that ring home with them, and I tell the parents they need to practice. So first they look at the picture and they just say ANG, Fang, Ang. And then eventually you want them just to look at the letters and say it without the picture there. So they've stored that picture in their visual memory. So ANG, Fang, Ang. I just wanted to point that out, just in case you have a student that, needs additional practice with any of these sounds, even with the vowels, or even with the consonants. Diagraphs, print these out and make them little cards to practice at home, put them on a ring, and they can practice those keywords with the letter and with the sound. I've done it with Latin bases. I have some here. I have another girl who her visual memory is super strong. So we actually printed out the pictures for these Latin bases, which are further down here, and we've glued them on here with it. So she's not just looking at the word, she's seeing the picture with the word. Just some things that you can do. All right, so that was page 5, correct? So, oops. Did you guys see the student notebook that I had up, or was I just talking to you?
We couldn't.
We couldn't see it.
Oh my God, I'm such a bad instructor.
Yeah, all I see is the lesson plan template.
Such an amateur. You think I'd have this crap under control by now?
We all are.
So this is what
We're
is
visualizing.
Yeah.
We're creating our picture as you're talking about it.
Okay. So this is what I was referencing when I was talking to you guys. So this is in box. It's just the answer key. So I always check to see what page they want. I don't know why Wilson didn't put that in the manual, but I check the page because it just makes it easier when you're in a lesson with a student. But this is where I was talking about making those cards. You can print out these pictures, the glued these welded sound or glued sounds, whatever you reference them by. And then here, these are right here. So these are like the Latin bases. This arm one freaks Sam out. He hates it. But so I printed out these pictures and then we wrote the Latin base on them for one of my students, and we sent those home so she could practice just the fluency of reading the words.
Caleb, for some reason, I tried to go to the answer key for this, and I couldn't access it. It wouldn't open.
Inside of box?
Inside box, yeah.
Ew. All right, I will, I'll make a note right now on my hand to.
I like that it has everything already there.
I know. I just discovered
really
that a
nice.
couple of years ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had so many kids write the wrong thing in their student notebook. Because sometimes it's not very clear inside the manual. But yes, I'll make sure to send that to you guys. I'll email it to you guys.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So page 5, AM and AN pictures. This is a drill leader if you have a group. We don't have groups. All right, so here would be, so review concepts that you want to review. So maybe we have bonus letters and yeah, I don't know, whatever else you would want to review at that time. And then your review words. So remember, since these are review, you're gonna want to choose some nonsense words here. You could do diagraphs, you know, whatever you wanted to do. So like 3 to 4 words here is ideal and more than enough given the time that you're supposed to spend at this part. So like you could do, and again, you want to make it specific to if there are certain trouble spots that you're targeting with that student, then you want to include as many of those trouble spots and as many of these words as possible, because practice makes permanent, and we're just trying to make these skills more permanent for the kiddos. So here your current concepts would be glued or welded, however you refer to them, glued or welded AM and AN. And so since this is an introductory lesson, if you look on the manual on page 138, it tells you to go from building bad to BAM without the green tile, using BAM with the green tile. And so I would definitely follow that first, you know, to make sure that you're introducing the skill. So I just put intro, page 138. So that reminds me, like, I'm going to introduce it at this page, and then I can put some words down here that I want to make sure that oh, this is the accuracy lesson. Put some words down here that I'm going to target. So where am I finding these? If I didn't have this cheat sheet to go off of my previous ones, you can either use the dictation book and pull the words from there, or the student reader. Any of the words that you're going to chart, you can pull the words from there. So let's just say, so we'll do, and again, like, you know, five words or so here is totally fine. So fan, jam, can, man, this is a good time that you could definitely word chain. It would be a good opportunity to word chain here. All right, you guys good? Any questions up to this point? Oh, van is also a good one because that's one that they'll see often. Yam, what is a yam? All right, you guys good? All right. So it says add to notebook. Again, there's nothing else to add to the notebook here, so you can just put like not applicable, whatever you want to choose to put there. All right, so word cards. So sub steps. So remember, for your word cards, you're going to have your rainbow stack, which is like all of your sub steps that you've worked on previously to this, and then you're going to have your stack that your current sub step stack. So potentially you would have like 1.4 through 1.1 through 1.5 here. And then this is where you are going, so you would do your words, your high frequency words, your rainbow stack or fat stack, and your current sub-step stack. and then you would choose an activity. So I don't know, how about, do you guys have any activities that you've used for 1.5 when introducing it? Like any sorting activity was with the cards? Have you found anything cool on word wall?
Yeah, I was just gonna say word wall. Sometimes I use word wall.
Okay, yeah, that's a great option. They have like that groundhog one, which is really cool, where they have to click the groundhog if they see it pop up with AM or AN. So I have slap fast. Both words need to contain an or am. So we just made 2 stacks of cards and we both flipped them over at the same time. And if they included am or an, we would have to slap it, and whoever slapped it got the card. So that's what I have in my old lessons here, slap fast with an and am. And so I just use the word cards that I have there, that fat stack, along with the current sub steps, shuffled them, mixed them all together, divided it. He got half, I got half. We would flip them at the same time. If it said, AM or AN, we'd have to smack it. And then if we, of course, smacked it when we weren't supposed to, the other person got that card. So here, sorry, go ahead. Just someone say something.
No, I was just gonna say I like that. That's a good idea. That sounds like a fun game.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you kind of have to get creative with what you want to do. So you also could do like a sorting game. So you could sort them between, you could do AM, AN, and ALL. So they would have to sort between words that have a glued sound and words that don't have a glued sound. And then once they have sorted that, then they can take the marker and they can go back and practice boxing in all of those glued sounds with a dry erase marker. Yeah, so whatever activity you want to do there to get them going, fantastic. Then of course you would read this subset sight words, any that they've struggled with previously. And then in the back of their student notebook, you'll notice that it's in alphabetical order, all of the, well, here, I can share this with you again. Where is it? Where'd it go? Did it switch? No, I'm just going to do this. I share screen one, then I think it switches with me. Yeah, okay. So if you go to the very end of your student notebook, so this is the notebook that has all of the rules in it. If you go to the very end here, you'll see that here are all the high frequency words that you'll introduce to them, right? So you can add a sentence for one of the high frequency words that's part of 1.5 there. So if you're going to do that, you can click this, that you're going to add it to the notebook, the high frequency words, or ideally what they mean here for vocab words is that you choose one of these words that maybe you've covered up here and you create a vocabulary stack. I'm really, really bad with doing this. I don't do it, and I should, I don't. But let's say in an ideal world, okay, you have a stack of index cards and you decide you're gonna add the word yam, all right, to your vocabulary stack. So you would write yam, you guys would define it, write a kid-friendly definition, and then maybe draw a picture of it or attach a picture to it sometime. So as you're going through these lessons, that would be another stack that you would go through and practice for fluency for reading. So you would have essentially 4 stacks of cards during this time. You would have your fat stack, which is a review of all the previously taught sub-steps. You would have your current sub-step stack. And when I'm speaking word cards, I'm speaking these. Right, these are the word cards. So you would have your fat stack, which would have like for this lesson 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and just like 10 of them, right? So you're just choosing about 10 review words. Then you would have your current sub-step stack that you would go through with them. So we were doing 1.5. So you would get these out and just run through them. Now, remember, this is an introductory lesson. And so maybe you want to try a nonsense word, but you don't have to. You can wait on these. Or maybe, you know, it's a kiddo that's really struggling with reading. You know, it says on the bottom, like A, B, which are higher vocabulary words, like A or AB are lower vocabulary words. So these are probably words that they have seen, you know, may not be able to read, but they've seen them before. So then you would run through that stack. Your third stack would be your high frequency words, right? Your high frequency words that look like this, or you can find them in PowerPoint form if you're virtual. And then your that vocabulary stack as you create it. So eventually, you know, if you create a vocabulary word, I did every other one when I was going through my practicum. I did a vocab word the one session, I did a high frequency word the next session, vocab word one session, the next session, high frequency word the next session. So I kind of went back and forth. Oh crap, we're out of time. Oh, all right. We're gonna just go through 4 and then 5, and I'll finish it and send it off to you guys so then you can look through it. Sorry guys, I'm really bad at that too. All right, so then student reader. So then you're going to look at the student reader, and we know for sure that we're not going to do B words unless they're older kids. But even my older kids, if it's like my first introductory session with them on a sub-step, I honestly really do tend to start with the A or B words, just because too I'm trying to build their confidence a little bit. So I go to 1.5. If you guys have the student reader open, that's like on page 81. And so that's what you would put here. So it's an AB. So you're going to practice 81. We'll say top. And remember, to practice, just choose like 4 or 5 words, okay? And you're just going to randomly have them practice 4 or 5 words. And then for charting, we'll do that same page and we'll do the bottom of it. And this is where they start at that first word, they read across, and you're charting on your grid. And you're not stopping them. Even if they make mistakes, you're letting them read all 15 of those words. But this is where you can mark any errors right here that they may make in their charting. So you could say, you know, switched out B's and P's, or struggled with, you know, short U, whatever it may be, you could mark that there. Along with, and that's typically afterwards when they're done charting. But this is the word list chart that you're filling out during that time, where you're going from the top bottom. So the first word they miss, you're going to write it here. Second word they miss, you're going to write it here. And then they color up to the spot that they need to during that time. You can disregard this activity because this is if you have a group. What activity would the other kids be doing while you did that? And so then this last part that I'll go over with you guys today is, so in the same student reader, this is sentence reading. So we're going to do AB again. And if you have that student reader open, sentences start on page 85. So because this is my introductory lesson, that's probably where I would start. Again, as they progress, they get progressively more difficult. The B sentences have that higher vocabulary in them. If you're doing suffixes and things like that, you'll see that as the sentences go, they add more things into them. But we're going to start on page 85. Here you can mark, any errors that the students have. And if anyone needs to leave, please go ahead and go. I'll probably just take 5 more minutes, but if you have to leave, I completely understand. And so this is page 85, right? And so of course here, like you're gonna have them read, these are their high frequency words across the top there. This side are high frequency words from the sub-step, and the words that are on the right, these are words that they haven't been introduced to how to sound out phonetically, and they haven't been introduced to as a high frequency word yet. And so we want to make sure that they're able to read that from. Remember, for these, 5 quality sentences is better than just trying to get 10 sentences in with the student. So, and plus they think they're getting away with doing less, which they all completely enjoy. So I typically am like, you know what, you're working so hard, we're going to do 5 today. And you can either choose them, you can have them choose them, whatever you want to do. I would say choose them, because then you can pick the questions that you want to ask the student. And so the questions that you want to follow are this. So I do a previous sub-step question. I do a current sub-step question. I do a comprehension question. I do a vocabulary question. And then I pull in like a personal interest question if I can. All right, so those are the 5 things that I have on all of my lesson plans: previous, current, comprehension, vocabulary, and personal interest. So let's say we're going to have, I'm just going to put here, read sentences 1 through 5. All right, so this is all about fluency. All right, so I tell Lightning Luke, automaticity, that's what I say every time, and he says something random. I have no idea what he sings after it, but he knows that we're working here on phrasing and fluency. So he reads it in his head first, and then when he's ready, he reads it out loud with me, using his finger under the sentence and scooping it into phrases. So here are the 5 sentences. I'll read them out loud to you just in case you don't have it pulled up. Dan ran with me to the shop. He got a chill from the fan. We will get a pan at the mall. Jill can nap on the bed with me. Does she want a bit of jam on the bun? All right, so here, so previous sub-step would be like bonus letters. So I would say, go after he's read all 5 of them out loud to me. We've talked about him scooping. I would say go back to sentence number 2 and find the word that has a bonus letter in it. And so he would go back and he would have to tell me that chill has the bonus letter. And then current sub-step. So then I could say, or maybe you would go do diagraphs, whatever. Then current sub-step would be those glued sounds, right? So I would say, go to sentences number 4 and 5. How many words have a glued sound in them, and what are they? And so he would have to tell me, can and nap, or can and jam. So number 4 and number 5 glued sounds. So comprehension, I would say to him, which of these sentences which of these sentences, if you were the person in the sentence, you would have to go up and get a cover or a blanket. And so he would have to understand that, number 2, he got a chill from the fan. He would have to be able to comprehend that to know what I'm talking about. So I would ask him a question like this, just like I said. Number 2, need a blanket. Oh, I'm running out of space. A vocabulary one, I would probably then go back and ask him, what does it mean? He got a chill. What does that mean? A chill. Or can you give me a synonym of a chill? Or what does that look like? Tell me what you picture in your mind. What do you visualize when you see that? And then personal interest, maybe like number 5 talks about jam on a bun. Do you have a favorite type of jam? Do you like to eat jam on your bread? We will get a pan at the mall. Maybe you can talk about what their favorite store is at the mall. Just whatever, just to kind of just build that rapport, and allows them to talk about themselves a little bit. So that is parts 1 through 5. And so you can see, like, after you kind of get the, I'm talking to you guys a lot and talking through things, but after you get the flow of it and you get rocking and you get rolling, like, it really does go pretty quickly. Thank you guys for sticking around with me these extra minutes. Again, I will make sure to finish up the rest of this lesson and upload it to that folder that's inside of that Google Doc for you guys to reference. Any lessons you feel comfortable that you've done, again, please upload them. I would love, to learn from you guys and just to build, really a bank of resources for everyone. Can I answer any questions from anyone? Was this helpful?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That sentence part alone was worth the price of admission.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Always nice to get ideas too of different things, different ways we can, So,
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I know I talked at you guys a lot today, but I know you guys are a wealth of knowledge as well. And I keep saying this, but I want to learn from you guys too. So again, if there's things that come up, like, please share. So then maybe next time we'll do the second part of the lesson plan, but at a different sub-step. Since I'll finish this one, I would like to do one that's a higher up sub-step for you guys. Just so that I feel like we do a lot of the lower ones because that's where we get the kids, but we do have kids that get further up. And so I'd love to work through one of those with you guys. Yeah, so any other questions? No.
Nope,
All right.
not today.
All right, well, go enjoy your Saturday. Robin, if you have time, I'd love to hear about the auditory discrimination, if you have time to stick around. If not, we can schedule another time.
I have time today.
All right, cool. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Saturday. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye,
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, Robin, let me figure out how to stop. Let me stop sharing. I need to stop recording. Oh, there we go.